Sometimes bold can be your bestie.
You actually say that out loud to people?
Oh, man. Oh my god. Why do I start all these videos like this? So today we're going to be talking about the 2021 remake of She's All That, except now it's gender swapped into He's All That because, well, why make a new script anymore when you could recycle an old one? Alright, we're talking about the modern version of She's All That, and let's meet the important characters. We have Paget, who is playing the role of the popular girl, where in the first one it was Freddie Prinze Jr., and her task throughout the whole movie is turn a loser into a hottie. We have Cameron, who is said loser, but honestly, he's a good-looking kid. Like, even when he's looking scruffy and grungy the way he does at the beginning of the movie, if you just changed his style a little bit, give him a man bun, he'd look like a mini Hemsworth. So really, the effort isn't really there. I was really hoping that they were going to go for Sebastian Wu, who kind of looks like the best friend of Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movies, but unfortunately, he sold an app, so he was going to be a millionaire. So I guess that would have been too easy. We have Alden, who's going to be playing the antagonist, just like Paul Walker did for Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character in the original movie. We have the guy from Girl Meets World, who is pretty much mirroring Matthew Lillard's character, who is this obnoxious type of celebrity. And then we have Paget's mom, who's actually played by Rachel Lee Cook from the original She's All That. And man, she is still looking very pretty. She still has that little quirkiness to her, which is what got me in the first place. But I don't know if she's actually playing the same character from the first one, because I want to think that she's not, because I don't want my nostalgia to really lose out. I want to believe that Lainey Boggs from She's All That is still with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, Zach Seiler. Because in this one, she's a divorcee. And so I don't want to believe that Freddie Prinze Jr. could abandon his family and start a new one in Florida, right? But we're going to start this movie that knowing that Paget is a popular girl, but in today's terms, that means being the social media influencer. And at first, it looks like she's rich, but we come to the reality that she's just middle class. Like, she's not off bad, right? I mean, having a house in LA is already, like, there's no way you're below middle class, right? Unless it's like rent control, but I don't think that applies to LA. But you know what? It's really nothing to be ashamed of. But at least she isn't bratty about the whole situation. She doesn't act like an arrogant prick to her mother, at least. She does help her mom paying the bills while saving for college with her social media sponsor money.
Those shoes cost more than our dishwasher.
These are bunny venom comps. Totally free.
Which reminds me, do you have any idea how my bill from the plumber got paid?
Oh, yeah, I Venmoed the repairman.
Honey.
What? I saw the bill on the counter and I figured. I mean, you work so hard to keep us in this school district.
Yes, this.
So at least she has a decent head on her shoulders as far as stepping away from the classic popular trope of the early 90s or the early 2000s, late 90s, or any teenage movie before 2010. We meet her friends who really don't add anything to the equation except just to be there, except for Alden, who is obviously the antagonist of the film. And I do like Quinn's character because she kind of deviates from the normal teenage plastic girl trope, right? But I didn't realize that we are still punishing people for living in the valley, because when they realize that they have to take Paget to Canoga Park, which I guess is in the valley. I'm sorry, I haven't lived in California since 2003, so I don't know where anything is. They're just like,
So where's the set? Hollywood? Beverly Hills?
Canoga Park.
Ew. Isn't that The valley?
That's like the valley of the valley. Buckle up.
Right. We do meet Cameron here, who's a much more exaggerated, stuck up, arrogant version of Rachel Lee Cook's character. He pretty much hates everything and finds no joy in the normal things that people enjoy. But to be honest, the song that his sister is playing, who is actually by the JVD, who is played by Girl Meets World star, it's complete trash. And the sad part is that the part that you hear from here is actually the most tolerable part of the song, because you do get to hear the entire song, or the whole song in its entirety, at the end credits. But really, the wheels kind of start to turn here, because we almost go beat by beat, plot-wise, from She's All That to He's All That. Because in this one, we see that Paget's boyfriend cheats on her with a girl who's clearly way older for him, at least in the movie. She goes and she freaks out, which is understandable because she just found her partner cheating on her. But then it leads to her becoming a internet meme called Bubble Girl, when a snot bubble goes on her nose, which then leads to her sponsors pulling out of their sponsorship with her because they don't want their brands to be associated with this viral meme. So after finding all this out, after being dropped by her sponsors, she goes back to school, because obviously she still has to show face, right? And then this is where we get the driving point of this story, where one of her friends, Alden, is kind of tired of Paget because...
Look, no one feels worse for Padge than I do. But you gotta admit, she kind of brought it on herself.
You're saying she deserved it? No, Jordan humiliated her.
Okay, I did not say deserved. But after years of this 4.0, hot boyfriend, insta-perfect corporate sponsor trade, I mean, something had to give.
He kind of antagonizes Paget, saying, oh, you're kind of nothing without JVD, which leads Paget to go, I can turn any guy into him and better. And this really leads more to her trying to also get back her sponsors by finding a new bay, whatever they say nowadays, right? And so the most of this movie is pretty much like She's All That. She starts to stalk Cameron, tries to study her, find out all of her interests, partakes in them, what he likes to do as far as hobbies, which is photography. He loves horses, and finds out where he works, and all of these things. And funny enough, all of these things sort of annoy him. But you get to see little sweet moments in between, like after she helps him scoop up at the ranch or the stables. They play with which I guess was supposed to be cute, but all I can think about was like, girl, you're playing with it. But all of it, he seems to be able to tolerate Paget, but you get to see a little bit of a different side of him when he and his best friend Nisha get invited to a poolside karaoke party, in which she starts to she starts to sing Teenage Dream, and she's kind of killing it. To be fair, she's doing pretty well until JVD shows up there with the girl that he cheated on with, and she starts to fumble on stage. That's when Cameron goes on. We find out that Cameron used to be in the Glee Club back in Wyoming and saves her. So we get to see a little bit of them developing feelings for each other, much like how like Freddie Prinze Jr. went to that art installation with Rachel Lee Cook, and then he did some performance art with the hacky sack. Really, it felt more like a therapy session, but whatever, it is what it is. But they start to really develop feelings for each other, like genuine feelings, which is nice. And then we get the obligatory chain makeover scene, right, where they do all the changing of clothes to a soundtrack. And really, I was like, oh, we're still doing this, okay. And then Cameron gets a slight haircut, which really shows off how good looking he is. Like, the dude was already pretty good looking. I'm just saying, right? That if he went to my high school with those features that he had, at least all the Asian girls would have been on him. I'm just saying, when I grew up, what was pretty big? Nick Carter, Justin Timberlake. He kind of fits the bill for that type of boy band looking situation, right? But they go to this party called Drop It Like F. Scott Fitzgerald, where it is a theme party for The Great Gatsby. They have a little cute moment there where Cameron's like, hey, did you know that this book is about classism or whatever? And she's like, yeah, but that's kind of the point. They're kind of making a parody of it. And I read the story Great Gatsby. I don't want you guys to think that I'm uncultured. I just really don't remember what it's about because it's been like 20 years since I read it. But you know what? They're really enjoying the party. Everyone seems to be having fun. We find out that JVD breaks up with his old girlfriend, and we feel like we see that as crocodile tears because he's trying. You think he's having a moment with his boy.
Wait, you guys aren't recording?
Oh, shoot, my bad.
Oh my God.
Guys.
All right, come on. I need another take.
Okay, got this.
Damn, I lost it. Always be recording.
It's like, come on, guys, always be recording. So we all know that's all fake. He tries to get back with Paget, but Paget rebukes him, obviously, because the dude is a scumbag. But Cameron's little sister, who is a fan of his music, is like, hey, I'll hang out with you. And so during the birthday song for Alden, everything seems to be going fine until we hear Bryn, who is Cameron's little sister, yell, no, no. And I was like, oh no. Is this that type of situation? But no, she runs out of there, and then Cameron finds out that JVD was trying to force himself on his sister, and so we actually get a fight scene here. And I was like, oh, does he know how to fight? But you do learn that he is a connoisseur of old kung fu movies. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you watch kung fu movies, you're definitely going to pick up something, at least enough to defend yourself. But Cameron's like, no, I'm not gonna let this go this time, and seemingly defends the honor of his little sister, which is awesome. But after he beats up JVD throws the camera that his mother had given him before she passed away, and so he dives back into the pool, gets it, and leaves, and is yelling at Paget like, why am I here? In the 4 years that we've been going to school together, why now? Why are you trying to get at me now? So there's a slight divide, right? And so after the party, Alden hooks up with JVD, and it feels like she's been plotting this the entire time to take everything from Paget because she knows she's poor. Like, I didn't think that we were still caring about that stuff, but
Things aren't always the way they seem. And you would know, right? Yeah, that's right. You can drop the act. We know you're poor.
I guess really she's more jealous of Paget and the clout she got with the social media game because, you know, being rich isn't enough anymore, I guess. So the day after, though, everyone's really giving Cameron some props, beating up JVD because he's king douche of this high school, right? And he finds out that he's actually been nominated for prom king. He doesn't really want to do it just because it's never really been his thing, but he hates JVD just a little bit more than he hates the idea of running for prom king. And so he wants to talk to Paget, who's actually surprised that wants to talk to her. And they want to meet after school. He's like, I got a surprise for you. So they bring him to the house. And at this time, Paget's kind of feeling guilty. She wants to tell him about the bet that she had made with Alden. But then she finds out that Alden and JVD are hooking up. And then she has been planning to be prom queen this entire time. So obviously their friendship breaks apart. Alden makes a threat that your secret is safe as long as I want it to be safe. Paget and Cameron meet up at Cameron's house. Cameron shows Paget his dark room for all the photos that he's been taking, and she's wondering, why are you showing me?
So then why am I here?
Because I trust you.
This is a pretty private moment, especially for Cameron, who's seemed so closed off the entire movie, and they share a kiss, which is sweet. But then Paget really freaks out, and she's like, I gotta go. Next day, we end up at the prom car wash, and this is where Cameron had asked his little sister for advice on how to ask Paget to prom. Bryn says, oh, do a promposal, which I also didn't know was a thing that existed. It's where you have to make an extravagant showing of asking somebody to prom, which Cameron obliges to. You know, he really likes this girl, so he's stepping out of his comfort zone. He printed out a huge photo of one he took of Paget in their Union Station date, and it seems like everything is going fine until Alden steps in and says, "Why don't you tell him about the bet?" And I think this is the first time I've heard Cobra Kai Cameron curse, because he's like, was I just a bet? And then he dips out, obviously upset because, well, you know, the bet was to turn the loser into prom king, and they had already spoken about that whole situation, about being called a loser at school and whatever, and that's why he likes being at work and at Union Station just taking street photography. And so we get to the third stage, or the final act of this whole thing. You know, Paget wants to show Cameron how sorry she is, but then we get greeted by some of the best acting in the final act of this movie, right? After Paget begs Bryn, who is Cameron's little sister, and lets her know how sincere she is about how she feels about Cameron, Bryn goes to Cameron's work with a tux for prom, and she tells Cameron,
Poor Mom. Look, ever since you've been with Paget, okay? You've been back. You've been smiling again and you've been happy, and I just feel like the first time since we moved here, I don't know, I have my brother back and
I'm not gonna lie, alright? Your boy got emotional. Alright, Isabella Cravetti, who's playing Bryn, is acting the shit out of this scene, and she is pretty much carrying the entire emotional weight of this movie in this one scene. Great scene, best acting in the entire movie, right? And so we get to the prom, and before the prom can really kick off, they have to have this traditional dance-off between Paget and her dance group versus JVD and let's call Alden. And Matthew Lillard is the best part of this because he is the principal, but he's also the JVD character in the She's All That movie. And as he's announcing that we have to start with this whole thing, he's like,
It'll be great. We have some weird ass traditions at this school.
but after this weird dance off, there's actually no clear winner announced, and right after that, JVD is announced prom king, and is a total clown during this whole situation. Paget gets introduced as the prom queen, and this is where she makes her entire speech, how her entire social media persona is all fake, and starts to show real pictures of herself, and starts to beg, or not beg, but plead to Cameron, like, I'm so sorry that I had to learn this lesson and lose you because of it. But right after that, she leaves, she gives up the crown, and this goth-looking chick gets the crown somehow, and she starts to leave the prom because she doesn't want to be there without Cameron. Cameron comes riding in a horse, which I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and I like how they went with the more realistic approach.
Hey,
Cameron, how...
I may have had a little help. I mean, I would have rode him all the way here, but I think I would have gotten arrested on the 405.
And, they kiss. Yeah, and then we start to hear this EDM version of Kiss Me, which was the theme song of the original She's All That. And I really wanted to hate it, but the beat's just too good. This entire movie is it's so bad. It's so bad, right? It's so bad that I want to hate it, but it almost feels like a Disney version of She's All That, because I believe in the original one there's a lot more teenage drinking, which, I mean, there's some drinking in this during Alden's party, but it isn't as gratuitous as the original one. Also, you have almost age appropriate actors playing the parts. I believe JVD is like 22. Addison Rae is like around the same age. Tyler Buchanan, who's playing Cameron, is around the same age. So it's nice to see that they're all very close to what the age is supposed to be for the characters. I like that there's a little callback to the original cast with Rachel Lee Cook being a nurse in here and the mother, almost like having a Molly Ringwald situation. I like Matthew Lillard. I'm just a huge fan of Matthew Lillard. Anything that he's doing, I love to watch it, just because I feel like he's one of these underrated actors that really don't get a chance to do more roles. I really wish, especially when he was younger, he got to do more serious roles or just anything, you know. But this movie, it's not even really a nostalgia attack for me. I just had to watch it though, because I wanted to see how similar and how different this movie was going to be. And to be honest, it wasn't too different from the original. I could have just left the original in my mind and not have done much with this movie. One of the things that I did notice, I did watch Amanda the Jedi's review or recap of this entire movie, and she did say that there was a rumor that this entire movie was going to be filmed with TikTok stars, and I'm really glad it didn't happen that way. I do like Tyler Buchanan. I feel like Tanner Buchanan. Damn it. I do like him as an actor. I think he's a little bit early, but yeah, he's fine. Really, the little sister Bryn carries this entire movie, and that's all I have to say about it. That one scene saved this movie, because I was surprised at how emotional I got when she got emotional. Oh yeah, I'm ready to film. But you know what? This is just a movie on Netflix. You guys, if you've watched She's All That and you are a glutton of punishment of watching terrible remakes that have required little to no effort at making a new script, because you have 90% of the premise done from the original one, and all you do is update the entire script to today's situations, like being a social media star and adding the new slang that's in there. I'm really surprised no one was like, no cap, no cap. That makes me sound like a bitter old man. Yeah, I'm kind of old, so I get to be that, right? But yeah, definitely check it out if this is your kind of thing. I still think it's way better than the Kissing Booth trilogy. Who gave the green light to Kissing Booth becoming a trilogy? Who? But yeah, definitely better than that movie. So check it out.